Sadly, this is the last presentation you're going to have this year of a flipped classroom. And it's going to be on perhaps the most exciting thing we will talk about, and also the first thing you're going to talk about next year, the Renaissance. So what is the Renaissance? The Renaissance, as you can see there, is a rebirth, a culture awakening, meaning a look back to culture that has been missed for so long, that is Greece and Rome. Much of the much of Greek and Roman literature and the arts and their advancements were lost, in particular with the burning of a library in Alexandria in Egypt and other places. And ironically, it's the Islamic empire who had just saved or copied a lot of the Greek and Roman ideas. And so finding that out is going to lead to the rebirth in Europe, in this case, not in the Islamic world. And it's going to start in Italy, and you can see the years there in front of you. Okay. What happened? Well, as I said, the Muslims, you can see at the bottom, had preserved it. The Byzantines had also revived much of the, or kept going with the Roman ideas and the Greek ones. And the Islamic Empire is going to transfer, if you will, because of the exchange of people through the Crusades. The Crusades are religious wars between the Islamic Empire and the Catholics. And so just by fighting, they're going to cede each other's ideas. Oops, sorry. And why Italy? Well, if you think back to the Byzantine Empire, why did it rise? Because it was a center of trade between the East and the West. And so the same thing is true of Italy. If you look at it, remember it looks like a boot, a backwards boot, and it's there in the Mediterranean. So it sticks out, and so it's a good stopping place for traders. And so hence they're going to bring the ideas, and it's going to be reborn there. The second reason is because the city-states are going to be, another word for prosperous is wealthy, and for you to have the rebirth of the ideas we're going to look at, you have to have people who can sponsor artists, sculptors, writers, playwrights, etc., to spend the time to do this. So you're going to have that. And then the third thing is the middle class. People who would be able to pay for this are going to rise up, and that's going to be a third reason for the run. So for those three reasons, it starts in Italy. Now, Italy is still more a collection of city-states than it is a country such as we have today. And you can see the three big ones there. Well, there are four if you include Florence, Venice, Genoa, and Rome. And Florence is ruled by the Medici family. And the Medici family is a banking family, so they had the money to pay and sponsor a patron. An art patron is a person who would sponsor writers and playwrights and sculptors and painters, etc. And they would also sponsor festivals or gatherings where people could display their work. Okay, so the new ideas that come out. First of all, individualism, and this is going to be different than what we had in the Dark Ages or the medieval period. Emphasis on the individual rather than the group. And individual shining as opposed to worrying about a group of people forging ahead together. And humanism is focusing on the worldly ideas. So if you think back to, if you're going to college in a few years, you think you're going to study either the sciences, math and science, or the humanities, and that'd be philosophy, art, English, history. And the term comes from this time period, humanism, and it means just those things I just said, English, or languages, instead of English, languages and philosophy and history, and the arts would be humanism. And the art is going to change from the Middle Eastern time, from the medieval time period, where you have the church, in this case the Catholic Church, telling you that you just have to be good all your life and then you'll be saved and go to heaven when you die, to both an emphasis on the church, but also the day-to-day life of people. So it changes in that way, and it's much more uplifting in the Renaissance period. You have key people here: Machiavelli, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Petrarch, and we're going to go look into these. So Machiavelli is going to write a book called The Prince, and The Prince is about a book that talks about leaders being as tough or as nice as possible. So Machiavelli would say, don't give any late assignment grades, don't even accept late assignments, and people will learn that they don't want to fail, and so they turn the grades in. But he'd say if you have a class where everybody's more or less turning on time, then don't worry about penalties, because you're as nice as you have to be and as ruthless as you need to be. And he said it's, as you can see, better to be feared than loved, because you're going to accomplish more. Okay, Da Vinci is going to be an inventor, a scientist, an artist. In particular, he paints the Mona Lisa, which is this one right here. It's the most expensive painting known to man. He also does The Last Supper. He is considered a Renaissance man. Anybody who's considered a Renaissance individual is known for doing multiple things: artist, scientist, inventor, painter, etc. And so that's the Mona Lisa, and that's the Last Supper, and that would be Jesus in the middle, and these are the disciples the night before he dies. Okay, the next one, who they actually lived together, Da Vinci and Michelangelo lives briefly in the same time period. They knew each other. Michelangelo much younger, though. He actually is considered even better a painter and sculptor. He is going to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, which is the chapel for the Pope in Rome in the Vatican, and he sculpts the David, as in Goliath, David and Goliath. And so that is the ceiling, and the thought is that when he was doing it, he was looking up so long, his eyeballs actually froze backwards. I mean, if you think if you hold your arm, or you sit in a chair in the evening, you put your legs up, your legs get a little stiff. So same thing if you had to paint that. It's an enormous thing that we'll look at a bit in class. And there's some up close, and he has tremendous defined people. And that's the David, and yes, it's more graphic than that, and it's huge. I want to say it's about 10 feet high, and literally veins on him, and the hair is finally done, and this is all out of marble and done with a chisel. Okay, and then Petrarch is a poet, and a scholar means someone who has spent a lot of time learning. He loves sonnets, which you've learned about in English, and he's considered the father of humanism, meaning the person who believes we should study all the things I noted earlier. The second part of the Renaissance is we have the Northern Renaissance, which you can see right here when it moves to England from Italy and over to France in the Northwest. And those are much more based in Christianity than the Renaissance in Italy. Okay, and key people up there are going to be Desiderius Erasmus, and he's going to write something called In Praise of Folly, and Sir Thomas More of England is going to write Utopia, and Utopia is about the ideal place, and he's actually comparing England, his country, to a utopia, and saying how it's far from it, and that's where we get the word utopia, a perfect place. Okay, all this was possible, a lot of this was possible because of a guy named Gutenberg, who invents the printing press. He actually sold it very soon after he made it, so he didn't make much money on it. But that also allows religion to change, because Bibles can now be mass-produced as opposed to the old way of Catholics, monks, hand doing it. So next year we're going to learn about the Protestant Reformation, where they actually started printing the Bible and other things over and over, and that's going to spread other religions. And there's a picture of it, and you would get one page and then push down on that blotter and get a page. And that's it.